And so I used that. So that created almost an immediate swivel chair. And I think, from then it was able to kind of grow into, all right, the rest of these people that are here that are just cyber or just physical, kind of brought them together. And I think what you have to do is you have to be very active in trying to build that synergy. And I hate that word, but it is a synergy between a team and getting that connective tissue. And at the end of the day, bad things happen in the physical world that are immediate. Bad things happen in the digital world, and it's like a cancer. We may not see it for years, or we may not see it until the threat actor decides to execute on it.
Where does insider risk fall? Because I would imagine there'd be a lot of overlap and synergy of a threat actor sitting inside of your organization, either intentionally or unintentionally, wanting to do something to harm the network digitally, but they may also have been put on a performance improvement plan or have a fixation on an executive or are disgruntled in some way, and it's the same individual. Do you find that to be a real use case of convergence?
I do, not so much in healthcare, though. I think in previous sectors that I've worked with, that was a much bigger thing. I think with healthcare, it's more going to lean to the disgruntled employee. And so what we've really tried to hone in on is looking and working with the HR to say, are we having a performance issue with this individual? And maybe we'll keep a little closer eye on what they're doing, from a digital standpoint, and then building that connection with physical security to say, hey, you know what, let's pay a little bit more attention to where this guy's moving within the facilities. With healthcare, a lot of our employee presence is on site. We obviously during COVID, we sent people away just like everybody else, but we've really been bringing them back in, and the caring for a patient is done physically. So, it really is one of those things where the more, the hacker that's inside your wire and really doing stuff, from an insider perspective, model does not fit here in the same vein. It's 9 times or 99 times out of 100, it's more than likely going to be a disgruntled employee who's going to try to do something nefarious.
Very helpful. Wayman, it was very illuminating to hear your, I'll say, the initial org design of bringing in individuals who've walked a mile in the other discipline shoes. I think that was very smart. How has that organizational model evolved, and how do you then cross-pollinate between your digital team and your physical team?
Well, I turned some operators into geeks, and I think some of their wives may be frustrated with me, the amount of money they've been spending on technology. Again, having that ability for them to understand what the other has done or experienced, created that camaraderie from the beginning. And it's allowed them to be the advocate for bringing more digital capability into the physical security space. It's still difficult when you're taking, someone who was, a detective for 30 years or, a beat officer who now is leading a number of security guards, because at this point they're security guards, to get them to realize that there's a strong capability that we can provide them to be more effective at their job. So I needed something to really build that. It is coming along. It's a slow process, but it is something that I think as more entities do it, there's going to be more and more people. I'm not the only person who feels this way, that build these kind of capabilities and build these connections between the two realms. It'll become a more commonplace thing over time.
No, I love that. Hey everyone, Manish here. If you're enjoying this conversation, take a moment to rate and review the Connected Intelligence podcast on your favorite listening platform. Your support helps us grow and bring even more insightful discussions to your ears. Plus, we'll be selecting reviews to read on the show. So leave one, and you might hear yours featured in an upcoming episode. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Now, let's get back to the conversation. I think our listeners would love to hear, especially given your role in the organization, how do you communicate up to your senior leadership, and how much of your narrative, how much of your ops reviews, how much of your look back, especially when you want to secure additional funding or headcount, do you express in terms of sort of cyber use cases? And what percentage are physical use cases, and what percentage are converged use cases in your narrative? I think it would be fascinating for the audience to learn more about.
So I'm still fairly new in healthcare, a little over a year now at Ochsner. A lot of it has been cyber centric, but I try to look forward and say, okay, what is it that I want to achieve for this organization, for this industry? And so I will look at, it may just be a digital attack today, but I'll look at how this could have evolved, or how it could have become more problematic had it had a physical aspect. As far as moving forward from a budgetary standpoint, I always talk about the art of the possibility. We all talk about AI, we all talk about agentic AI. It's the latest buzzword. And when you look at what is available from a technology stack in the digital realm to augment physical security and capabilities, then I bring those to bear. And again, I'm not going to go and do this without making sure I'm aligned with my partner in the physical security space. But ultimately, these are things that make their jobs much easier. And I think as much as it's fun to walk around all kitted up, you know, having a little technology to make your job a little easier and maybe make your kid a little lighter is not a bad thing.
Does physical report to you today?
No, it does not here.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So how does that partnership work between you and the physical security leader? How often do you guys connect, meet, share best practices, et cetera?
We're working on building that. So I have a very good relationship with our head of physical security today, and I continue to grow that. I've gotten to know a number of his lieutenants and really building that. Again, I don't look at these things as a quick fix. I look at it as something you've got to build that relationship. And if cyber is a buzzword, and with boards, it's a lot easier to get funding if I'm using cyber risk. Physical is that workhorse that's been around forever. So bringing to them and saying, "Hey, I can be a partner with you and help drive budget for you as well." So yeah, it's. I think everything boils down to a relationship building at the end of the day.
Wayman, I think our audience really appreciates your candor and transparency on that. So thank you. You went there with the two-letter word of of the moment, which is AI. How do you really think about AI? And it could be in the realm of cyber. You can extend it to physical, but where do you think it is today? Where do you think it will be a year or two from now? And what's the future state?
So to me, AI is augmented intelligence, and it is in its infancy today. There are going to be components of it and areas of it that are more advanced than what we may be able to use in the civilian space. But for the most part, it is a helper. And both cyber and physical can utilize this helper to help them. If you've got, I can't remember the number they told me, like 600 cameras that we have throughout uh, one segment of our facilities. If I am sitting there, or even a group of people are sitting there trying to monitor that with the naked eye, we will miss a tremendous amount. But if I use a tool that can analyze that and look for those things to kind of be, okay, highlight image over here, um, those are where I see AI and agentic AI becoming a useful tool for all of us. I think we're there from the perspective of the idea. The idea is there that AI can do this for us, but the application of it in either space, I think, is still an evolution growing, and we're working through it. There's a lot of great tools that are out there.
Where are you in terms of requiring human in the loop? And do you think we ever reach full autonomy in the world of security?
I'm too paranoid to ever reach that point. So, excuse me. Yeah, no, I definitely never want to reach that point. I want to look at it always as an active system between a human and technology. We are, it's too easy to give, control and autonomy over to a system. And systems are a series of ones and zeros right now. Now they'll become a series of mostly ones and mostly zeros in the future, but ultimately, a human needs to be in that loop and part of that. That's why I would never fully automate a system.
Makes complete sense. And I appreciate your comments that you've been in the healthcare industry for about a year. So you can answer this directly from that industry or just your broader perspective. Our audience loves to hear personal experiences and learnings. What advice would you give individuals who are maybe in the same position you're in and they're thinking about this world of cyber to physical convergence, thinking about the opportunity to leverage technology to help scale, thinking about ways that they can add more value and become strategic partners to the business? What are things that you've seen either in this role, in this industry, or just broadly that you'd share as advice for people who might be in the same position?
Well, the one thing that I always say is, you always have to move out of your comfort zone. I've never worked in the physical security space in the way that others have. So I rely on their expertise with that, utilizing technology that benefits both of us is something I try to lead them to. And I think often as we get to these positions, and I made this joke a long time ago. I said, the more you get promoted, the dumber you become. And it's not that we become myopic and we become certain that we are the one that has all the answers. And I think that is something that we have to continuously challenge us. Ultimately, I make a decision for Ochsner on their security, but I take the input and advice from everyone who reports up to me and everyone that works with me. And when it comes to any of the access control stuff, I have conversations with my physical security partners because I want to understand, is this going to benefit them or is it just benefiting me? Do they have a different opinion or a different viewpoint? And being open to that and dropping the egos is probably the easiest way to continue to grow and be successful. And it is hard at times, but the reality is, nobody knows everything.
And not going to ask you to name names, but if you think about incredible leaders that you have helped shape and grow over time, or even your current bench that you've built, what are some characteristics and profiles that have been the most successful in your opinion, where they can then grow to become future leaders in this domain? To your point, uh, you're going to be as good as the leadership team and the bench that you've built. So to hear some of your thoughts on building exceptional teams.
Every single person that I've mentored and that has worked for me or works for me knows they can fail and knows that they can have that ability to fail and recover from it. And I think one of the things that we do is we as leaders, and of course there are limitations of failure. I can't have you take down the entire hospital system in the middle of the day and fail and not be consequences. But I think most people understand the definition of giving people the opportunity to fail. If you give people the opportunity to fail, they will become 10 times more successful because they'll operate in a band like this. If you beat the crap out of them every time they fail, they'll operate like this. You won't see that growth. So I think the one thing that I've instilled in all of the people that I've mentored. And this goes from, special operations soldiers to elevator mechanics to, one of them was, what was her degree? Fashion design. It's about giving people that opportunity to grow within themselves. And, sometimes you find that they're growing in the wrong way and you got to cut them out. But, for the most part, that's been the thing that allowed me to really, I think, succeed and grow my career, was having a mentor and a leader who gave me the opportunity to kind of make those mistakes and recover from them.
Love it. That is excellent advice. Wayman, we're almost at the end of our time. I'll give you an opportunity to share anything else that you think would be insightful for this audience. And then we do have one final question for you. So,
again, at the end of the day, if I spend enough time looking at attack models from the digital world, and I've seen enough of how we're connected in the physical realm. I know exactly how I would attack our nation. I know how I would attack our companies. I know how I'd attack our infrastructure. And everything starts with a digital component, because I need to be able to see. If you go back and you look at conflicts that we have been involved in or that have happened around the world, there's often been a digital component. So, as for those of your listeners that are in the physical realm, don't discount what we can help bring to the table to help give you insights into potential risk that may manifest into the physical space.
Beautifully said. Wayman, one last question for you. What does connected intelligence mean to you? That's a question that we ask all of our guests on this podcast. So I'll open it up to you.
What does connected intelligence mean to me? I guess, if I'm kind of digging through the brain, because it makes me think of some of the movies where I've seen these interconnected people. They put themselves inside of a system and they're connected to everything. So that's kind of silly. It's about, having enough avenues of information flow to help you make truly educated decisions. I can get all the feeds from one particular vendor, and I may have some really good information. But if I'm getting all the information that I can, I'm getting OSINT, I'm getting government data, I'm getting data from cameras telling me about things, I'm getting data from locks and badges, then I can truly make a educated decision on if this is a risk or not. So I guess that's what it means to me, is kind of being connected into everything.
Thank you. Our guest today was Wayman Cummings. Wayman, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening in. To find more episodes, visit us at ontic.co/podcasts. Don't forget to rate and subscribe on your streaming platform of choice. Plus, we'll be selecting reviews to read on the show, so leave one, and you might hear yours featured in an upcoming episode. Know someone who would be a great podcast guest or have questions you'd like us to answer? Email us at podcast@ontic.co. This episode was produced by AJ McKeon. We'll talk to you next time on the Ontic Connected Intelligence Podcast.